Hello, everyone, and welcome to another investment readiness seminar. Today, we're covering EU funding opportunities for space companies. And the reason we do that is because EU funding or national funding opportunities, which we will cover as well, are a really interesting way to finance your development because most of these come in the form of grants or what they call non-equity financing, which means that it's in essence free money that you can use for your development, for your commercialization of your technology. Now, that's great. The thing is that it is very competitive. Of course, everybody's interested in free money, so these programs and the applications for them are very competitive. And through this webinar, we actually want to show you what is out there for the European Commission and also to some extent some national funding opportunities that you can look into, as well as the European Space Agency opportunities and what they cover. Now, the thing with these grants is that they require some form of business planning because in essence, what this grant does is support you in the commercialization of your technology, your product, your service. And so there has to be some solid planning behind your application, right? Your business model, basically your whole business plan, everything from business model to financial forecasting, market analysis, marketing strategy. All of those things are likely to need to be part of your application. And we at Evenflow have been doing that, supporting those kind of efforts for several years for space companies. So we are in a unique position to help you with that part of your business through the Sustainability Booster services. So if you're interested in getting support like that, you can reach out to us. You have the email here, bsupport@evenflow.eu, if you would like to get support with that part of your business. Now, the first main program, or the overarching program, in fact, for the European Commission is called Horizon Europe. So that's the key funding program for research and innovation, massive, almost 100 billion euro budget. And the space component is placed under Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe, Cluster 4. And in the near term, the second Horizon Europe call is planned to be opened for submissions this year, October 2022, with a deadline in 23. And this second call is structured in 6 topics. And each topic is a different kind of call. So you can see here the 6 topics. So you have e.g. and assess applications for smart mobility, public sector as Galileo and the Copernicus user, Copernicus downstream application, etc. You can see them here, but they're not all the same type of call. So you have, in fact, 3 different types of calls. You have a research and innovation action. You have just the innovation action, and then you have something called pre-commercial procurement action. So the differences there is that they kind of target different maturity levels of your technology. So we'll be talking about that a lot. Your TRL, your technology readiness level, and the research and innovation actions are covering the kind of lower TRLs. So they're targeting, like, I think by the end of your project, you should be targeting like something 3 to 5 in your technology readiness level. We'll put a link below, by the way, to check what each level means. But the research and innovation action are for the lower TRL level. So there are activities that primarily aim to establish new knowledge or explore the feasibility of a new technology or an improved technology. It could be basic and applied research, technology development, etc. So all the way up to actually demonstrating maybe like a small scale prototype in a laboratory or simulated environment. And the interesting thing for the research and innovation action is that these actions are funded at 100% of the cost. So you're not expected to fund anything yourself. That's different for the innovation action. So the innovation action is targeting a little bit higher TRLs. So we're talking, TRL, I think 5 or 6 by the end of your project. And of course, that depends on the call. So you got to make sure you read the call well to understand what technology readiness level is expected by the end of the project. But the innovation action, therefore, is more focused on the commercialization. So that kind of work can include prototyping, testing, and demonstrating, but also piloting or large-scale product validation, even market replication. So a business plan and evidence of user engagement are compulsory and need to be submitted as part of the proposal that I was talking about just now. And we can of course help you with that part of your proposal. And the funding rate here is different. So the funding rate is 70%. So you're expected to invest 30% of the cost of this development. Unless you're a nonprofit, then you still get 100% of these efforts funded. So those are the first two. And then the last one is the pre-commercial procurement action. So that aims to help basically buyer groups to strengthen the public procurement of research, development, validation, and maybe the first deployment of new solutions that can significantly improve the quality and the efficiency in areas of public interest. So it's a pretty broad topic. I think there's just the one item here that's called pre-procurement. Yeah, it's the public sector as Galileo and or Copernicus user. And that is funded also at 100%. Next up, under Horizon Europe, are the European Innovation Council instruments, or EIC instruments. And these instruments fund primarily innovative undertakings by startups and SMEs. And 70% of the budget is non-reimbursable funding, and up to 30% of the budget is equity funding in various stages of your technology readiness, right? So again, this TRL story comes back. There is the Pathfinder program, which is low TRL, early stage research on breakthrough technologies, again, for consortia, 3 partners. Grants can be up to 3 to 4 million. And what we heard from a winner is that if your consortium consists of 1 university or research institute, 1 corporate, and 1 startup or SME, that seems to be a really good match for this Pathfinder program. Next, for the mid-TRL, so that's TRL 4 to 6, it's the transition program, so that's technology maturation from proof of concept really to validation. That again focuses on business and market readiness. And you can apply to the transition program both as a consortium or as a single entity. And the grants are up to 2.5 million. Then for the higher technology readiness levels, 6 to 9, there's the accelerator program. So that's the development and scale up of the deep tech or disruptive innovations by startup and SMEs. This is not for consortia, but this is for individual SMEs. So it's a blended finance thing, what we mentioned before. So grants up to 2.5 million and equity investment up to 15 million or even more. So this is an interesting. These are interesting programs to look into. This is a quick overview of the cutoff dates for 2022. You can pause the video here to have a thorough look at that. There are also something called Horizon Prizes. So these reward ambitious goals to solve a major challenge that face society. And they don't say how you should do it or who should achieve it. And these major challenges sometimes concern the space industry. So recently, there was a space launch prize of 10 million euros that was awarded to a company that solves the challenge of developing a European technology non-dependent solution for launching light satellites into low Earth orbit. So it's worth checking out which prizes are launched. Also, for that, we will provide a link below. Next up is the USPA and the EU Space Program. So this is a massive program launched last year, 13 billion euros to finance space activities, which is implemented by EU member states, the USPA, the European Space Agency, EUMETSAT. And the main aim is to secure European leadership in space activities, fund innovative industries, etc. So this is a massive undertaking, and this is going to provide many opportunities to space companies. The main thing currently is the CASSINI Space Entrepreneurship Initiative. So what is at the backbone of this initiative is a 1 billion euro fund that is operated by the European Investment Fund that provides capital to VC funds that they then invest in EU-based companies that are developing and marketing space technology and digital services using space data. So a fund of funds that invest in space companies. So it is worth checking out which VC funds have been supported by this massive 1 billion euro fund. Keep an eye out on who is getting funding and see if you can talk to these VCs for an equity raise. Of course, equity raise is a whole different story, and this is something that we will cover in another webinar. They also organize hackathons, matchmaking, mentoring, and prizes. Talking about prizes, if your proposed solution has been demonstrated in an operational environment, you might be able to actually get one of the prizes. You can apply on the website, which we will link below. And the 2021-2022 prize pool consists of several million euros. So it's definitely worth checking out if you could make an application for one of those. Now, also interesting to check out is the USPA procurement. So USPA contracts various services from the space industry, and that might present an interesting opportunity for your company. So all the procurement and tendering documents are published on the USPA website. We'll link it below. What we want to highlight in the near term is a call called the Copernicus Demonstrators. And what they are asking you to do is to analyze and evaluate the technical feasibility of innovative proof of concepts that use Copernicus data and services to show the benefits of the data in a user environment. And the total budget available for that call is 3.5 million euros. And that can be a really great way to get some additional cash flow going in your company. Next up is InvestEU. So in the InvestEU, it's a fund that supports financing and investment operations for 4 policy priorities. The one that is most relevant for the space tech companies is the research, innovation, and digitalization priority. Now, this is a fund that is operated by the EIF, the European Investment Fund. And again, similar to what we saw with the CASSINI fund, it's not directly providing financing to companies, but it works with financial intermediaries like banks, like VC firms. And you have the opportunity to apply directly to those financial intermediaries. There's over 1,000 in Europe, and we're going to link them below where you can find them. Last is the more national funding opportunities. So what we would recommend is to work with Eurostars, which is part of Eureka. They represent national funding bodies in a wide range of European countries, and they give access to public funding for SMEs that want to collaborate on a research and development project. And the funding amount heavily depends on the nation that you will be requesting funding from. All the information, of course, can be found on the website. Here is also some eligibility criteria for these Eurostar calls. So you can pause the video to have a look at that. Then we will cover the programs of the European Space Agency. Now, the European Space Agency has what I think is the largest opportunity for most space tech companies is the ARTIS program, the Advanced Research in Telecommunication Systems program, which is split into core competitiveness and the ESA business applications. So we're going to cover that in detail. There's also the Technology Research Program, the General Support Technology Program. And then there's the Kickstart activities for some kind of smaller, I think 60,000 euro activities. There's InCube, there are the ESA BICs, the Business Innovation Centers. And of course, there's the programs that the national space agencies have themselves. So we're going to start with the biggest one, ARTIS. So Advanced Research in Telecommunication Systems, split into two programs. So you have the core competitiveness, which focuses on the development of innovative telecommunication products, systems, and services, which provide large budgets, up to 25 million euros, which covers up to 75% of your total project costs. And also provide technical support throughout the development process. And then you have ESA business applications, which have a wide range of what they call equity-free co-funding. So it's from 60K all the way up to 2 million or more per activity, which should be self-funded to some extent. So depending on the size of your company, if you're a large enterprise, you're often expected to cover half of the project costs yourself, whereas SMEs can, in some occasions, just cover 20% of the project cost. So the other 80% would be covered by ESA. And if you're a public institution like a university or a research institute, then you can get 100% of your costs covered by ESA. There is an open call for proposals that you can apply to at any time. We'll cover the differences in the types of activities. You have feasibility studies and you have technology demonstrators. And also what is important here is that you will need for each of these calls or for every application, you need the approval of the ESA delegation in your country. So if you are working together with a German company and you're based in France, and you both apply to this ESA call, you're going to need a letter of authorization for the budget of each country. So if your German partner is requesting 50K and you're requesting 100K, you're going to need from the French ESA delegation an authorization letter for 100K, and you're going to need one from the German delegation for the 50K. So it's always important to involve your national delegation early on in the process to also get them on board with your application, so you don't have any surprises by the time you need that authorization letter. So like I said, there's two types of activities under the ESA business applications. There's the feasibility studies, where, and the main thing for actually feasibility studies and demonstration projects is that your project needs to be user-driven, customer-driven. And you need to be using at least one or more space assets like EO data, GNSS data, whatever. You need to have at least one space technology that you're using. And for a feasibility study, you will need to have the intent to go to a demonstration project if your feasibility study is indeed successful and it looks like whatever it is that you're developing has commercial potential, so you want to go for a demonstration project. The timeline of a feasibility project is about 6 to 9 months. And like I said, expected to evolve into a technology demonstrator project. Now, a demonstration project aims at implementing pre-operational demonstration services, which include a pilot activity with an end user where you trial your product, your technology with the customer in a pre-operational environment. So same eligibility requirements as a feasibility study apply. but they're a bit longer. The target duration is anywhere between 12 and 24 months. And the goal is, of course, to become commercially sustainable after the project. Here's a quick table with an overview of the differences between the feasibility study and the demonstration project. You can press pause to have a look at that. So how do you apply to the ESA business applications? Well, first you start off with an activity pitch questionnaire. Essentially, you tell ESA more about your idea, how you want to implement it, and you upload it through their submission form. And then ESA helps you decide which of the activities, feasibility study or demonstration project, best fits your proposal. Now, if ESA agrees to continue with the application process, the next step is an outline proposal. So the outline proposal includes a full description of the business plan, the team, the implementation approach. And this is exactly where Evenflow is in a unique position to help you, because we've been doing that for space companies for years now. So we can help you with the commercial description of your business very well. Then ESA uses this outline proposal as a basis, what they call, for a formal judgment to move forward. Usually they will have some questions that you should clarify, but generally, if your outline proposal has been approved and you're moving forward to step 3, the full proposal, you're in a really good position to potentially get the co-funding from ESA. So the full proposal includes all the formally required information, like the CVs, but also, detailed work package description, work package breakdown, planning, costing forms, etc. And ESA will review it, then request any clarifications, also discuss during what they call the negotiation meeting. And when you have done the negotiation meeting, you can move forward with the contractual aspects and hopefully then get your financing for your project. The technology research program is what ESA calls the backbone of their innovation effort. It's for very early technology development, so it's up to technology readiness level 3. It supports projects based on the innovation triangle concept. So it requires the collaboration of 3 different entities: an inventor, a developer, and a customer. The procurement plans are made annually, so 100% of the contract actually goes to industry and university on an open, competitive basis. And about 50 million euros in grants are granted in industrial contracts every year. So the invitation to tender are continuously published throughout the year on their EMIT's website. We'll link it below. You'll need to register to get access, and you can check the call for all the details there. Then we have the General Support Technology Program. There's a bit more wider range in terms of what they cover under which TRL the technology is, 2 up to 8. It doesn't cover telecommunications, which is under ARTES that we just talked about before. And they perform their activities under 3 elements: develop, make, and fly. You can apply in the same way as you can with the technology research program. Just look at the invitations to tender under ESA EMITS. Every year, there's about 45 to 60 million euros in industrial contracts granted to around 60 to 80 activities. And you can find all the tender documentations on the EMITS webpage. Smaller activities can be covered under the Kickstart activities, as they call it. So it's basically a very compact feasibility study that explore new services and new application concepts that use space capabilities. Like the business applications, it can be funded up to 75% of their total cost, with ESA providing up to 60K per contract. Short proposal shouldn't be longer than 20 pages. And the same principle applies where you want to, if it's all successful, go into a demonstration project afterwards. The way it works with Kickstart activities is that the invitation to these activities are divided into thematic calls. So they're really themed, and the latest calls you can find on the ESA webpage. We'll link that below. Also, something worth looking at is Incubed. It focuses on developing innovative and commercially viable products and services that exploit the value of Earth observation, imagery, and data sets. So EO focus, wide range, can fund anything from building satellites to ground applications and everything in between. There's 2 development cycles available within Incubed, and the entry and your application depends on the maturity of the development that you are proposing. You have, on the one hand, the de-risking cycle. So you want to result in the activity should result in a credible technology concept. And they're usually less mature, require support to get there. And then you have the product development cycle. So this cycle results in a credible product or service that can be shown to be commercially viable, and you would not need any more additional funding to get to the commercially sustainable stage of your business. So again, like with the business application, ESA co-funds part of the project, up to 50% for the product development cycle and up to 75% for the de-risking cycle. And SMEs might even get a little bit more, up to 80% co-funding, depending on the decision of your national delegation. And also you get, of course, the ESA access to expertise and technical support. The application for Incubed is pretty straightforward. First, you pitch your idea. You have a 15-minute session with ESA and maybe also the national delegation to see if it's a good fit for Incubed. Then you fill in the first part of the proposal. ESA provides comments on your proposal, and then you, after that, you implement ESA's comments when you submit part 2 of the proposal, and then you submit it fully, and there's also a possibility to iterate. Then something to consider are the ESA BICs. So the ESA Business Incubation Centers, they help entrepreneurs turn your space-connected business ideas into commercial companies. It's a 2-year program. There's 22 centers across Europe. And what you get is 50K in zero equity funding that you use to develop your product and your intellectual property. You also get 80 hours worth of technical support from leading experts in the region and ESA. And of course, there's a ton of business coaching, legal and IPR advice that you get over the course of your incubation period. You can apply. It's a little bit different depending on which BIC you apply to, but most of them advise you to first contact the BIC manager for an introduction. And then you send your formal application that includes a cover letter, business plan, checklist, and an incubation proposal. And some of the documentations are specific to the ESA BIC, so you should coordinate really with the center that you are applying for when you make your application. Then a week after the application deadline, a tender opening board will review the formal requirements. And if all the formal requirements are met, you can pitch your business plan to the TOB as a final step in the application process. Last but not least, we want to draw your attention to the national space agencies. So we're talking, DLR in Germany, CNES in France, who often have their own funding support programs, or they have programs in place that help you get funding. Like, for example, in Germany, there's something called DLR Projektträger, and they will provide support to find funding either nationally or from the EU. So it's worthwhile to check out what programs are in place for your national space agency to see if you can benefit from that. We hope this provides a solid overview and a starting point to assess what public funding opportunities are out there and which ones match your business. As you can see, many of them require really solid business planning, a good understanding of who your customers are, what they need, how you're going to become commercially sustainable, backed up by all kinds of financial forecasting and market analysis. And Evenflow has been doing that, has been supporting space companies with that for several years. So we're in a really good position to provide you that support. If you need it, reach out to us. You can reach us at bsupport@evenflow.eu. Other than that, don't forget to check out our other webinars on investment readiness, and good luck.